Yo, what is everyone, back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking all megas. So now that we actually have all the megas released in Pokemon Legends EA, I'm going to be ranking all of them in competitive and giving you my thoughts on them. Now, of course, some of them are, ability-less in this case, right? And we probably will be doing an update at some point, but I did actually want to do a full one together, kind of rating where I thought they were in terms of competitive related to, V2C. I think it's really exciting to obviously, be able to always talk about these, all the megas, and I think it's kind of cool to talk about how they're all going to match up into each other. And of course, when I'm picking each mega, I'm going to focus a little bit more for the ones that we don't know their abilities off of their stats, what their potential moves are, right? And then of course, what their potential abilities might be. And then of course, we'll kind of compare and contrast. But it'll be really interesting to see how this matches up after. So let's start. So first Pokemon here is Venusaur. These are the tiers, by the way. So you might notice I have a wider range of tiers here. That's mostly just because I feel like there are so many megas, you have to be able to differentiate them. So starting out with Venusaur, Venusaur is like a kind of a C tier Pokemon in my opinion. So the main thing with Mega Venusaur is like its stats are fine, but it's nothing particularly like amazing. It just kind of gets like dumped stats in a bunch of different things. So if we compare it to its pre Mega Evolution, I suppose. If you're looking here, right? You see that like it gets kind of just like dumped in everything pretty much, but like the attack doesn't really do anything for it, of course, right? Which is fine because I guess it gets a bunch of other stats, but it didn't get speed anyway, so it kind of just didn't get any buffs it needed. And it gains thick fat, which isn't particularly useful. Like Mega Venusaur was already really fringe in the first run of, megas. So for me, it's just like, it's not really good enough to warrant a mega, right? There's just so many better options nowadays. So Charizard X is a really interesting one. So Charizard X is a Pokemon that typically only really sees play during National Dex formats just because it's kind of in an awkward situation. Now, I will say that with Incineroar being even more popular now, Intimidate, stuff like Raging Bolt and other Pokemon being around, I do anticipate it to actually go down a little bit in terms of its viability. Now, I will say that I think there will still be like some level of usefulness for it. It is still a very strong mega, right? Like it does get a decent amount of increase on its stats. The main problem that it has is like its attack isn't as impressive as it used to be back in the day. So I could definitely see it like still being a little bit lower in terms of how it's performing, right? Like its speed tier is a little bit worse, right? Or its speed tier is okay actually, but like it's slower than Landorus Incarnate, which has popped up as like incredibly popular lately. I mean, Charizard X in general, its typing isn't terrible, but like with all the dragons in the format now, it's a little bit harder to compete. So it's something that I definitely see probably struggling a little bit. So I'm probably going to drop it down to C right now. Now, Charizard Y is a completely different like thing for it. Basically, the reason why Charizard Y is good is it's like it's the only mega that sets Drought, and Drought and as a weather in general is like really strong. 159 special attack, decent speed stat, and its typing is a little bit better. Yes, it does still have some weaknesses to some common Pokemon, but overall, Fire Flying with Drought is like pretty good. And fire types are always appreciated, at least special fire types, I think. And you can have a lot of synergy with certain Pokemon with Charizard for sure. So it's a Pokemon I definitely expect to still see be good. It probably won't be as good as before, but I still think being able to set Drought, especially with all the new Pokemon added in that are just great abusers. So we're talking like Flutter Mane, Raging Bolt, other Photosynthesis Mons, right? It gives Charizard a lot of flexibility and ways that you can use it. Next up, so Mega Blastoise. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I think this thing is going to be pretty terrible. One of the main reasons why is like, yes, it does get Shell Smash, but like that's less good in VGC. Now I do think that'll give it like something of a niche, right? Like I do think it has a little bit more tools than like, I probably honestly I'll make a C plus and a C regular category because I feel like there's a bit of a difference here. Let me do that and then do add a row below C, like regular C. Because the thing is like, okay, here's my main thing, right? With Blastoise, yes, you do get like the yes, you do get the Shell Smash niche, but the main problem that you'll probably encounter is that like it's very one-dimensional and it only opens up one way that Blastoise can play, right? So it's not particularly like incredible for itself there. Next up is Beedrill. So I don't know. Mega Beedrill is just like, it's too frail is the issue, right? Like in theory, it should be really cool because of its speed stat and how min-maxed it is. But like having such a low defense in a format where Fake Out is everywhere, there's a lot of priority moves, right? You don't have that much serviceable bulk. Like, yes, will you still be at a decent like speed stat wherever in, you know what I mean, with Beedrill, 100%, right? But even then, right, at 216, I'm still feeling like it's going to get outpaced by a lot of other megas in the format, and it's just unfortunately gotten crept way too hard. Like, to be honest, Mega Venusaur and Mega Beedrill could even fall into the F tier just because of power creep. Pidgeot, just, it's not justifiable over a bunch of other flying types. That's like an automatic F tier, unfortunately. Just not a super great Pokemon. So Raichu X is interesting. So this is the first of the megas that we're talking about that actually doesn't have a confirmed ability yet. But given off the fact that it does get an attack boost after going for Volt Tackle, we can assume that it has something to do with boosting its damage, right? Now, realistically, that being said, unless it's ability that makes it unless it's an ability that makes it like immune to Intimidate or able to kind of counter boost against Incineroar, it's probably gonna have a lot of trouble actually like getting going. I'd probably be confident putting it around in the Charizard range, mostly because Charizard, again, like with the presence of Incineroar and other stuff, is going to be a big problem for it. And then it's kind of the same for Raichu Mega X, right? The only way it kind of gets around that is if it gets Defiant. And even then, that's not really what it seems to be. Next up is going to be, Raichu Mega Y. I do think Raichu Mega Y has a better chance of being viable. I still probably would put it in C. If anything, honestly, like, I think once you hit C+, it's like Pokemon that at least have like a couple things they can do. And then B is like, okay, like it could actually be strong given the right tools, right? So if we actually take a look at Raichu Mega Y here, Raichu Mega Y actually has like an okay speed set. Now it's not amazing compared to some of the other megas, like it's still a little bit slower than some stuff. So for that reason, I'd actually probably drop Raichu Mega X and Charizard even lower, just because of the nature of how things are. Drop Venusaur and Beedrill down and put Blastoise in D, because I feel like once you hit F tier, like the Mons are just going to be like very bad in terms of like what they can do for you, right? Or like not good enough. Yeah, and even the Shell Smash niche is very like small, right? For Raichu Mega X and Zard, the problem is Intimidate. For Raichu Mega Y, there's a chance it can be really good with, it does have high stats, but the main issue is it's still frail, right? I mean, it still takes 1 billion damage from everything, so it's going to be a big problem for it. Mega Clefable for me is like probably D tier unless it gets a really crazy ability. The main reasoning for this is like, if you look at Mega Clefable in general, right? Like, okay, I just want you to compare this and look at how goofy this is, okay? So I'm going to pull up Togekiss, okay? So Togekiss stats are this, right? 85 HP, 50 attack, 95 defense, 120 special attack, 115 speed F, and 80 speed, right? Clefable is 70 speed, 110 speed F, so lower, right? We have special attack, 135, so slightly higher than Togekiss. Defense is worse. Attack is higher. And then the HP is a little bit higher. Like, objectively speaking, you're using a Mega on a Pokemon that it needs an incredible ability to be better than Togekiss. If it got something like what people assume like Serene Grace, it's just not going to be better than Togekiss, and you just rather not use the Mega slot, right? I think if it gets something like Serene Grace, for me, it's an instant F tier Mega. The only reason why I'm putting it in D tier is for the grace of maybe its ability could save it or make it like a little bit more viable. But I feel like D is very fair to put it given what its stat total looks like. Mega Zam. So Mega Zam is actually really interesting to me now. So this is gonna really depend on whether Mega Delphox gets if Mega Delphox basically gets Psychic Surge or like some other ability, because they're kind of competing with each other. Mega Zam's stats are insane. Its speed stats insane, and it also gets access to Expanding Force. So I think it's actually going to be like a reasonable threat. Like, I think B tier is pretty fair for it. Like, it's still going to be a little bit more niche compared to some other niches. But if you have like Indeedee Mega Zam, that's actually going to be pretty scary because Zam is just so strong, right? It gets one plot off. You're going to be very, very scared of it, right? So I think that's something you have to consider. Mega Victreebel, unfortunately, stats are just way too middling. Again, it's kind of like the Venusaur dilemma, right? Like, there's just not really enough going for it. Even if it gets, like, an amazing ability, right? Like, I could see the ability maybe saving it and bringing it to D tier. So maybe I'll put it in D tier just out of, like, generosity for that. But its stats are just so mid, right? Like, it's not even that good. If it gets something like Triage, which is what people are assuming, like String Sap and everything, like, yes, you can do that, but it's probably not going to actually save it. But yeah, D is probably where I would put it. And D is pretty generous in my opinion. It might even be around Venusaur tier. I guess I'll put Venusaur in D just because, like, they're pretty similar to each other, right? And maybe they give Victreebel something similar. Next up, so Mega Slowbro. Trick Room Expanding Force is now more of a thing. or it's at least an available tool for Slowbro, which it didn't have before. So for that reason, I'll put it at like C. I think that's at least something going for it versus like what it had before, which was basically nothing. Mega Bro is like, I don't know. It's fine. Like it has decent stats, but before it really couldn't do anything. It has a really high defense stat, which is a kind of bonus, but yeah, I think it definitely needs like it definitely needed expanding force to even have a chance, right? Now, Mega Gengar, I think it has to be S tier. It is probably one of the most well-designed megas in the game. It has Shadow Tag available. Yes, the speed stat's gonna be a little bit worse now in the current formats, or like with the current megas that have been added. But I still think that Mega Gengar has a ton of viability. Shadow Tag is an incredible ability. It is one of the most well distributed like stats of any mega ever, right? In my opinion, at least, right? And it is just incredible, right? Shadow Tag, great ability, reasonable speed tier. It's able to do a lot here, and I think it'll be really strong. Also, it's like deceptively bulky. Like 80 doesn't look like a lot, but it actually gives it quite a few options in terms of survivability. So yeah, I just expect it to be really strong. Mega King. So we're coming out with another like banger here, basically. Mega King will probably be S tier. I think it could also like you could make an argument for A tier, like A plus. I think Mega King got a lot better actually. If it gets power up punch back, it'll definitely be S plus category. But I think the big thing that actually buffs it and makes it really good is it has Scrappy before Mega Evolving, which got buffed. So now it's going to be immune to Intimidate, and it's going to be able to hit Ghost types, right? Which is a huge buff for Kangaskhan. So I just really see it like not being disrupted as one of the best megas by far, right? It just seems like it would be really, really strong. Okay, so and also too, I realized with Megazam, so my argument is like Megazam's pretty terrifying. I think Delphox will still probably like outshine it a little bit, but I think it has to be in the B category because its speed stat is insane, right? Whereas Delphox's is a little more humble, I suppose. But yeah, like I think that's something worth noting. I might even bump it down to C a little bit, like after, but we'll see. So Starmie is a tough one. I feel like it's gonna be kind of bad, unfortunately. Like with Rillaboom, Incineroar everywhere, unless you have an ability like it's pure power maybe. But like the thing is again, it's like in a format where like Intimidate is gonna be everywhere. Rillaboom's gonna be on a lot of teams. Like Raging Bolt can be on stuff, assuming like obviously they're legal, and even if they're not, right? Like if just Intimidate is legal plus like any kind of way like strong grass type of Moongus, right? Yes, you have Zen Headbutt, but still Moongus can just EV for that. I feel like Starmie's just gonna be like a sitting duck versus that, right? And as a special attacker, it's not really doing that much, so it's probably not something you'll see very frequently. Mega Pincers an F. It's just really bad. It's not very good. Mega Gyarados is like it's around, but it's I don't know. It's kind of fallen off a little bit. I wonder if it'll be better because of Calyrex Shadow existing and Calyrex Ice existing in restricted formats. So for that reason, I guess you could maybe put it in the D tier. Like the dark typing isn't terrible, but the thing is like again, it's just the Intimidate problem, right? There's just so much Intimidate around. Although I wouldn't say like Gyarados is on the same level as like Blastoise and those guys. So I think C is pretty reasonable for it. Mega Aerodactyl. This thing probably I'm gonna drop Starmie probably down to like right above Clef, below Blastoise. Mega Aerodactyl at least deserves a D tier. In VGC 2018, it saw a little bit of play with a gimmick with Skydrop, being one of the fastest Skydrop mons. It's probably not as good in that gimmick anymore. But I mean, it is still fast and it does a lot of damage, right? But it definitely is like kind of being crept by like a lot of other Pokemon. So I think D is pretty generous for it, but it's like fine because it at least like placed in 18 and it was like kind of around, so it gets a pass. Also, it did Top Cut Worlds in 19, right? So it's like not the worst Pokemon ever. Mega Dragonite. So this one is so intriguing to me. It's definitely not a Pokemon that I'm going to put like super high or like at least in the high tiers because the thing is, unless this thing gets a crazy ability, it is probably it won't be bad, right? But its stat distribution is still a little bit questionable, I'd say. Like it's still good because like I mean you look at the stats, right? It's still like hundreds and everything. I'd probably hesitantly put it in the like B or B plus tier. Mostly because it really will depend what ability they give it, but it has to be a pretty crazy ability for it to be beyond like a B tier mega. Like its stats are good, but like there's so many other megas and so many other specialized like ways where like you can build archetypes around them, right? Like Mega Gengar, Kangaskhan, Charizard Y, but like with something like Dragonite, it feels like a little less clear. unless there's like some crazy ability. Mewtwo and we'll worry about them when there's a restricted format. So Mega Meganium is interesting. I think with Mega Meganium, right? If they give it something like Drought or like I was talking about this in the previous video, like photosynthesis or like an ability like that where it can instant charge solar beams. I mean, I know you can plus move instant charge solar beam. That's actually why I made a mistake in the last video and said that's why Meganium just did it by itself. But even then, right, like powered up growth, like something with its floral capabilities could be really interesting. If they give it Drought straight up, I think it will make it more viable. It's not the worst distributed Pokemon I've ever seen. Like, its stats are actually pretty okay. It gets a good special attack buff. Its speed is kind of whatever. I'd probably put it in C tier. If it gets Drought, I think it definitely goes up a little bit as a Pokemon. But I definitely wouldn't see it, like, be... Like, I could see it having a better niche than Blastoise if its ability is better, for sure. Because Blastoise's ability is basically a nothing burger for it. But yeah, I'd say that's probably where I would put Meganium. I think it's fair. Mega Feraligatr is kind of in the same boat. I was thinking about it a little bit more after the video we talked about. Like, they need to give this thing a really strong ability that allows it, and like maybe even give it more coverage for it to be a little bit more viable. Now, I will say the Water Dragon typing is slightly better than Zard X's Dragon Fire typing in terms of like being able to like offensively hit stuff in some cases. But I do feel like it could suffer a similar fate to Zard X. With both, like even Zardex has Will-O-Wisp, which is like more of a niche, in some cases. And I feel like though with its stats, right? So if we look at actually Feraligatr's like stats, right? It's still 160 attack, right? So it probably goes over Zard for that reason. And if we're going to be generous towards Mega Raichu Y, which has no bulk and Zam, I feel like you could put Mega Feraligatr at minimum in the C tier, right? Okay, Mega Ampharos, this thing's probably an F tier. It never really saw play, and when it did, it didn't really do particularly well, so it never really placed well. Mega Steelix, I just think the problem is now there's just too many ground types, like, and also, too, there's just a lot better Pokemon in its niche. It gets Sand Force, which isn't really enough of a niche to, like, make it super good. It did, I think, top cut one event, or, like, top 16 an event, but, yeah, this Pokemon's just so underwhelming, right? Like, it really just doesn't do very much. So it's not really something I'm expecting to see go crazy or anything in terms of Pokemon. Mega Scizor is an interesting one. So in theory, I think it could be like a B tier Mega. I think it's going to depend what's legal, but having Technician Bullet Punch to one-shot Flutter, being able to pressure Raging Bolt once it goes for a Terra Fairy, right? Even if we're counting some other Pokemon outside of it, right? Swords Dance with Bug Bite into Berry Incineroar, Technician. It's like a strong Pokemon for sure. I think it definitely deserves to be in the B tier. Strong Steel-type Megas are always like good, usually. They're not bad. Mega Heracross, I think it's just the issue of too many Intimidates, unfortunately. Mega Skarm's a weird one. Yeah, it's like, okay, if they give it Mirror Armor or something where it doesn't care about Intimidate, I could see it actually being like a pretty good like anti-meta mon. But the thing is, you have to think too about these mons, like what is their ability pre-Mega, right? So you can't stop Skarmory from getting intimidated, which is really awkward. You lose defense when you Mega, so you can't do the body press niche as well. You do gain speed, right? So I could see Mega Skarm, like, if it's, like, able to wall properly, be really good, right? But the main issue you'd probably encounter is that, like, it might be a little bit more awkward to position than people think, right? At least with, in a double battle scenario, right? But I will say, like, if they give it something like Mirror Armor or whatever, it will be able to deal with something like Incineroar or other Intimidators, other Whispers, right? Or not Whispers, I guess, because that'd still be pretty debilitating for Skarmory. But it would probably be able to play, right? If they don't give it something good, it's probably going to end up being a little bit lower on its viability. So I think that's something to consider here. But yeah. Mega Houndoom, unfortunately, if they get this thing Drought, I think it would be a little bit better. But it's just really, like, not too strong. Yes, it gets Solar Power, which I guess in theory, Solar Power could be really cool with Houndoom now that there's like more Sunsetters or more proactive ways to like build Sun teams with it. So I'll probably put in the D tier just for that. But it really is not very great, right? I mean, it never really saw any play outside of things. Like, Solar Power is actually really crazy with its like special attack step, but look at how low its speed set is, right? Like, this thing is like only BST 600. You take it, right, and let's say we go Timid, right, max, right, and then let's say we went level 50, right, like, it's outspeeding, like, Ogerpon and those other guys, like Ninetales, those Pokemon, which I guess gives it some kind of niche, but still, like, it can be tough to justify, right? So I feel like D is like a fine place to put it. Mega Tyranitar, I think, will probably just be B tier. It's not your first choice of a Mega a lot of the time, just because regular Tyranitar is really strong. But being able to reset your weather is just, like, fine. It's not, like, particularly bad. A lot of the time, like, it just allows it to reset the weather again. So, like, for example, if something switches in, sets Sun, and then you Mega your T-Tar on the same turn, you're going to get Sand Control anyways. So it's something I could see being, like, still decent. Mega Sceptile never really saw too much play, and it didn't really leave a lasting impact on the format. I'd be hesitant. I mean, with Lightning Rod, nah, it's probably not very good. Like, if we look at Mega Sceptile, it didn't even get Draco Meteor, which I thought was a big problem for it as well. But I don't even know if that would have saved it, frankly. Like, yes, it has a high speed stat, right? Like, actually, if you're looking at speed stat, you're looking at special attack stat. It's not particularly terrible, but it's kind of like one of those situations of, like, what does he even do? Like, sure, he has Lightning Rod, right? But, like, what does he even do? Like, you play him maybe next to a water type, but, like, even then, it's not super great. It can do some damage, but not usually enough, right? It just feels like a kind of like nothing burger of a Pokemon. I would probably put it like a little bit lower than all these other Megas. I would even honestly consider dropping Steelix and Sceptile down. Maybe Sceptile can stay because Lightning Rod's a little bit better than Sandforce for Steelix. Because like Steelix as a niche is just like completely outclassed by like Exca if you think about it, right? Like sure, I guess Mega Steelix can do like Iron Defense Body Press things. Actually, okay, it can do Iron Defense Body Press things, so I'll put it up here too. We'll keep the mons the same. But yeah, generally speaking, right, they're just missing out on a couple things. Mega Swampert. Okay, so this Pokemon back in the day used to be a better Swift Swimmer, like anti-meta like Swift Swim on. And if things were the same as then, I would have actually put it higher. I'm gonna drop it down to C for a similar reason that I dropped down Zard and Raichu X and these other guys. Incineroar is everywhere, which is better at pivoting, which it was around when Swampert was around. But the key issue is that now Rillaboom is around as well, which is a huge problem for Swampert. Being 4 times weak to Grassy Glide is really rough. I don't think it makes it unplayable, but it's definitely going to make your life a lot harder. So it's definitely something I could see like kind of punishing you. Mega Blaziken to me is like probably C or B tier. If we look at Mega Blaziken historically, it never really had like any crazy performances, but having like a super powerful close combat, right, with speed boost is like kind of an intriguing idea. I'd probably say it's the best of the C tiers. And also, even if Incineroar switches in, like it's still going to do 1 billion damage with close combat. So it's not as bad, I think, in terms of like the other Megas who can be intimidated. For Alligator's kind of in a similar boat as well with a similar attack stat, right? But yeah, I think like Blaziken definitely deserves like the C category as like a Mon for sure. I'm even considering buffing Skarm if they give it mirror armor, but for right now it's probably C. Mega Gardevoir had a niche back in the day as like a Trick Room setter. Now that Fluttermane's around and there's a lot more Trick Room setters around, I feel like it might fall off a little bit. It can still be good. Like it won Worlds in 2018 and Seniors. It's done well historically in terms of like lower power formats, but now that things have been power creep so much, the question really is can it keep up and compete? The main thing with Mega Gardevoir as well is like it's not terrible stats, but it's not like the best defensive stats, right? So you can't really like make this thing live everything. And as things get stronger, that's going to naturally affect it more. I'd probably put it in the C category just because I feel like it's like maybe even, yeah, I'd probably put it in like C here. I'm going to drop Megazam down to C, by the way. This has been bothering me when I've been looking at it more. But yeah, I think generally speaking, Gardevoir might have fallen off a little bit. Megazam probably got a little bit better, but yeah. Mega Sableye, I'm going to put it in D tier. There's probably like a bit of surprise factor and like closed team sheet with this one. Mega Sableye isn't really like your most ideal Mega though nowadays, especially with so much competition, so many Pokemon that can pressure it, and its BST is really low. And Magic Bounce was never really particularly good. To be honest, I'd even be considering putting it in F, but I think the like surprise Mega in closed team sheet could be like really annoying in some cases. So for that reason, I'll keep it there. Mawile is a Pokemon I actually expect to get a little bit better with the changes to the game and what Pokemon have improved. Specifically with Gothitelle. So if you guys don't know, back in the day, Gothitelle Mawile was like a very potent combination. And I think that it could actually still be really strong in today's meta. Especially because now Gothitelle got buffed with Fake Out, right, which gives it even more options on the turn 1. It's really good at dealing with Dragon type, so it's literally your really strong answer to something like a Raging Bolt. And in Trick Room, this thing can still be terrifying, and if you're able to pair it with Trapping or with the right tools, you could definitely use it to obviously slow down certain Pokemon. Mega Aggron, you get Iron Defense Body Press, so automatically, I think it's better than Steelix because at least you're solo typing Steel rather than Ground and Steel, so it could work on maybe a Rain team. I was talking about this with a friend. I don't think it's particularly going to be amazing, but like it's like at least something. And like with Filter, it could be annoying because Heavy Slam, Iron Defense Body Press, right, overall can actually cover stuff decently. Also, Mega Aggron's like really fat and obnoxious, so like 230 defense body press is no joke, right? This thing like is going to hit insanely hard. Even if you had no investment in it and went straight careful 252 252, right? This thing's defense is still like sky high. It's actually ridiculous. Mega Medicham probably got worse with all the changes to the formats. I guess it did get like second at an international in a restricted format with Lunala existing. So like you can't fully count it out, but I think it's definitely gotten worse with the changes to the format. And it didn't really have any showings in 2018 because it wasn't particularly strong back then, or at least like any notable showings, right? So again, yes, you do get fast Fake Out. You do get that pure power like close combat, but it's still a little bit underwhelming, right? I mean, we take a look here at Medicham, right? Like, its attack stat's actually pretty good for it. Like, it has a decent speed stat, but it's just unfortunately fallen off a little bit, I think, due to the nature of just power creep in general, right? Not one of the higher BST megas anyways. Okay, so Mega Manectric back in the day used to be a little bit more viable, but now Intimidate is like such a good ability. I mean, there's nothing wrong with fast Volt Switch Intimidate, but I feel like compared to the other megas that are probably accruing you more value over time, you're probably not going to be able to benefit off of it as much. That being said, like a really fast like Volt Switch is like always like okay, I guess. And then having Lightning Rod, you could maybe use it next to like a restricted in certain formats, right? But its speed set has become a little bit obsolete. Not fully obsolete. It ties with Miraidon and a few others, but yeah, I think the niche of being able to Lightning Rod a Miraidon might be good, but I think it's definitely in question for sure, right? I'm actually not going to put it above Gardevoir. That feels very wrong, so I'm going to probably put it in the C tier here. Probably above, I think it probably deserves to be around the Raichu Mega X area. But the reason why I'm saying putting it above Gardevoir is criminals. Like Manectric at its best, even in 2018, was I think it won a regional, but it wasn't able to actually like do that well even in Worlds. But like Gardevoir was able to win Senior Worlds, so you know I think that's reasonable. Mega Sharpedo, oh man, this thing's so bad. Unfortunately, it's just like it's got a power crept like crazy, right? Like, I mean, we look at Sharpedo Mega, right? Like, its stats don't look horrendous when you look at it immediately, but like compared to regular Sharpedo, it's like they gave it so much special attack that was unnecessary. Like, even if you put a little bit more into its bulk or something, it could have made it a bit better. But again, it just suffers from the Rillaboom problem. Rillaboom's too good. Even if Rillaboom doesn't exist, it's like not more powerful than a lot of the other megas and the options they could potentially provide you, right? I guess for that reason too, to be like, if I'm being realistic, right? Like these three here on the bottom and Steelix, I'm actually gonna drop down because it doesn't have a niche, I think. There is like something they can do, right? Like solar power, right? Like thick fat, maybe a surprise best of one thing. Surprise lightning rod, best of one. Surprise like magic bounce. Like those are like best of one strategies that you can maybe get away with using these mons. Once you get down to this, it's kind of like poo poo tier, right? Like it's just not very great. Mega Camera Up, I could see a niche working in Trick Room. If Mega Heatran is a lot of format, it probably gets completely like outshine by it. But besides that, I mean, I could see it on like a best of one style of team, right? Like it's very linear, but actually ground and fire coverage is really good in a lot of the VGC formats right now, just because it does a ton of damage. And Mega Camera Up, I think. Let me actually check. 145 isn't terrible. It just might lack a little too much damage is the only problem. Like, it might not be able to do enough. So you might need Sun, but then it's like, how do you do that? Mega Altaria, yeah, it's just, unfortunately, like, I just don't think it's strong enough. Pixelate's, like, really good in theory. Maybe as a niche, right, you could maybe get away with it in, like, a best of one category. But I don't think... I might even make a best of one cheese, honestly. I'm probably gonna put that here. Best of one cheese. You could maybe like get away with like surprising someone or something, you know, but it's very unlikely to go beyond that probably. So we'll put Altaria. I'm gonna put Altaria in F. I don't think there's really a way you could best of one cheese. I think Mega Venusaur probably goes down into best of one cheese, and then from there we'll kind of see where stuff goes. Mega Banette, unfortunately, just like pure ghost typing is not good enough. I don't see it being particularly strong. Mega Chimecho probably falls into best of one cheese. Like, even if they give it something like Filter, I mean, maybe you can get away with like making it a D tier if it's like it has something, right? But yeah, I don't know. Like Mega Chimecho, like even with a good stat distribution, I guess because we don't know the ability, we could put it in D and not put in best of one cheese. But realistically speaking, right, like it needs a really good ability to give it some kind of viability. I will say Calm Mind Chimecho maybe with like Filter could be annoying, but even then, like Psychic Fairy, or sorry, not Psychic Fairy, Psychic Steel isn't really the best coverage ever. Mega Absol is just terrible. Mega Absol Z though, I could see this either being like strong best of one cheese or like maybe like a C tier mon. It's actually a very fast mon in general. The only reason why I'd be hesitant, like I think it got a better distribution than a lot of mons. I think the main thing that would hold it back is like, does it get an ability like Defiant, or does it get an ability that makes it immune to Intimidate? And then also too, like how is it positioned? Like what moves do they give it access to, right? So yeah, I think that's a big thing. Mega Glalie, unfortunately F tier, it's just intimidatable. And now we're getting to the big dogs, right? Mega Salamence, I think will probably be an A+ Pokemon. I mean, it also won Worlds, I guess, so it could be an S tier Pokemon. Like, I think it's very hard. They designed such good Megas. It's very hard for them to beat, like, the best trio of Megas that they've ever made, just because they're all such well-handled, well-distributed Mons, right? Mega Salamence is incredibly strong. Mega Kangaskhan is incredibly strong. Mega Gengar is incredibly strong. I will say, I think Mence goes down into the A category just because with how many new dragon types added in, like the existence of Raging Bolt, Gouging Fire, I think it makes Salamence a little bit worse, but it's still good, right? Like I don't think it makes it like unusable at all, right? So for that reason, I think like A+ is pretty reasonable. Metagross I think is A+ as well. I think Metagross got better actually with the changes they made. They gave it Heavy Slam, which is huge with Tough Claws. And then on top of that too, it's just a really like good Pokemon. The fact that you have Clear Body before you Mega is really good. Steel types are even more in demand nowadays, I think, than before. It's just very good, right? And having a Tough Claws Bullet Punch that can just one-shot Flutter is huge. So I think that's a big deal. The Lotties were always like kind of niche / weird. I'm gonna put them in C category for now. It just feels like fine for them, right? They're okay. Mega Staraptor is interesting. I feel like with Mega Staraptor, giving it the fighting typing is interesting. If they give this thing something like Defiant, I think it would be like at least like a random decent like kind of like D tier, C tier, or best of one cheese type of Mega. But the problem is you have to remember like it intimidates into doing that. So that's not a problem actually. That's like a benefit for it. But I don't think it's gonna be better than like a couple of other things, right? So it might be hard to actually navigate it properly. For that, I'll put it on the bottom of C tier just because I want to believe like they could make it good. But if they give it like some crazy ability that makes it like super strong, maybe it goes into C category. But the problem is like Intimidate is still effective into it, even with a high attack stat, right? I will say it does have really good bulk though. It does get a decent amount of bulk, but its typing is still not the best defensively. Lopunny's interesting. So Lopunny is one of those Pokemon that if they fix its ability before Mega, because all of its abilities are terrible, by the way, like regular Lopunny, it gets Scrappy. If they give it Scrappy before it Megas, it'll probably actually buff up to like something like maybe around the B tier. But the fact that it only gets Scrappy after it Megas is kind of a big downside for it. It is a very fast Fake Out Mon, and it has close combat and normal type coverage moves like Stab, Fake Out. So it's really not that bad of a Pokemon. I probably would put it like lower than a lot of these other guys because it has less proven results and it hasn't been around as much. But I think that if they were to maybe fix one of its abilities, give it something, like you could do something with it, right? Mega Chomp. Man, I wish both the Chomp's Megas were just better. They kind of bummed me out. I like Mega Chomp, like, yeah, they just gave it such a weird speed tier. Its ability isn't particularly useful for it. Like, you'd rather use Mega Exca at this point for Sandforce. Like, yes, it does have an incredibly, like, good stat total, but, it's just, like, wasted potential, I feel like, with Garchomp Mega, and, like, I think Z might fall into the same problem as well, unfortunately. But that being said, right, I mean, like, I think it's not the worst thing ever, but it never really saw play for a reason. It just wasn't particularly strong. Like, you had no reason to use it over regular Chomp because you were dropping your speed a lot of the time, so that kind of hurt it. Mega Chomp Z, I'll be a little more generous towards because I felt like they tried to do something with it. I'll probably put it near the like bottom of C tier. Yes, it has insane stats. If they give it something like Beast Boost or something, I'll probably put it in top of C because I actually feel like if they give this thing a broken ability, it could be like really, really good. Also, I realized like putting Mega Blaziken here and not putting Gardevoir here seems pretty wrong to me. So I'm probably going to bump that up as well. But yeah, I think like in general, looking at it, right, like Garchomp Mega Z will probably do something. If it gets something like Beast Boost or like not exactly Beast Boost, but like something along those lines, right? I think it could be really strong. Its special attack set's okay. Its speed set's really good. So it can definitely do something with the speed stat. Like it's not the worst thing you could ever use, especially if you're using Nasty Plot. Maybe they give it some crazy move, right? That would be really good. Lucario is like, it has adaptability. It has inner focus before Megas, which automatically gives it like something. I think it's definitely not the worst. I'd probably put it around the C category as well. Adaptability, close combats, and steel type moves. Again, like that's pretty cool if you're trying to hit like Flutter Manes with bullet punches, Incineroars with close combats, and even without that, it's still going to be hitting really hard into random other targets. The problem is its speed tier has kind of been crept a little bit, right? So if we're looking at Mega Lucario, right, its BST is actually pretty decent. Oh, sorry, Lucario here. Over here, right? It's like speed stats okay. It's not like the most amazing, but it's like okay. It actually has a really high special attack, which is kind of wasted on it, unfortunately. At least in terms of I guess in terms of doubles. And it's like fine, but I think that the fact that it's frail kind of hurts it. Like you'll notice a lot of the frail megas are towards the bottom. And that's mostly because it really hurts a mega when it's frail. I do think Mega Lucario Z is better, but like marginally so. I think I'm gonna put both Mega Lucario and Mega Chomp in the C tiers because even though their speed stats are insane and they're super fast, they're both actually a little bit frail. And I think that that could really hurt them in terms of a format where like things are going to be hitting really hard, right? Mega Abomasnow. Snow got buffed, which helps it a little bit. It was never really good in the past, and I think Ninetales will still be better than it. So I'd probably put it lower for sure. I don't think Mega Chomp deserves to be down here with these other guys, but yeah, I think it's okay. Like it can exist in D. I think it's like okay, it's all right. Okay, Mega Gallade. I mean, like, oh man, I don't know. They just really like didn't like. Why would I not want? I would just want a regular Gallade, frankly. Like, yeah. So they have Mega Gallade now using sharpness, which is funny, because that's obviously not what it has. I think it's inner focus when it megas, right? Like if they don't give this thing sharpness when it megas, like there's actually just no reason to use this. So I think like, yeah, it's just F tier. Okay, Frostlass Mega. Let's take a look here. Okay, so Frostlass Mega. Like, yeah, it's unfortunately just probably falling in it. Like, maybe best of one cheese, right? I mean, but you're gonna know it's gonna Mega, though. But it gets, like, some Frost Breath stuff it can do with partners, like, other things. But it's just, it's probably not gonna be particularly good. It's the first Mega I'm confident in saying, like, I think it won't be very good. Even if it gets, like, Snow Warning. Okay, Mega Heatran. This one's kind of a banger. I think Mega Heatran, like, okay, so there's two ways this can go, right? If they take away Flash Fire and don't give it a ability to replace it, that's, like, better, right? I definitely could see it just being, like, you know, not as good, right? Like, A tier-ish. If they give it a good ability, like something like a crazy, or, like, even keep Flash Fire on it, this Pokemon is pretty crazy, man. Like, it's actually very good. I think it's one of the best Megas that they added. Yeah, I mean, this thing is crazy. It does a lot of damage. And if they give it Eruption back, I could see this thing being even higher. I'm tempted to honestly put it in like the A+ category just because of how much stronger it is, right? 130 special attack to 175 is insane, right? And it doesn't even mind getting the buff to its attack like most other Megas do because it has like Heavy Slam. And its Spadef buff is crazy. So I think Heatran's going to be like a very, very good mon, right? I just see it being very, very viable. Mega Emboar, they need to give it something where it can be like immune to Intimidate or something to like I think be decent. Just because there's like a lot of competition with fire fighting types. Like you have Speed Boost Blaziken, other fighting types obviously that can do that. So I think it's a big thing. Okay, Excadrill. Oh, see, this is where it gets tough because I think these are some of the two best. Excadrill, I'm gonna put in A tier just because I feel like Excadrill is a Pokemon where if its ability is bad, it'll still be good. But to be honest, I think Heatran low-key might even be S. Because, like, yeah, I'm going to put Heatran S. But I think Excadrill is going to be a Pokemon where if its ability is bad, it'll still be okay. But yeah, if it's... Yeah, if it's, like, going to be a really good ability, like... I think A is it's a good place to put it, right? If it... Obviously, like, its stat increase is really great. Excadrill is very strong. It's definitely a Pokemon that benefited a lot from its Mega. Even if they give it something like Sandforce, it'll still probably be fine. I think it's fair where it is. Like it's definitely a good Pokemon. Also, if it gets Mold Breaker, you can't switch in Levitators on it. So, and if it's like something like Intimidate Immune, like geez, oh man, that's unfortunate. Mega Scolipede's an interesting one. So, and I'm probably gonna readjust and bump some stuff into B plus because I noticed we're not putting too many things in there probably. I will say Mega Scolipede is probably going to be around the C or C plus category. I probably would want to put it, or C tier, I should say. I don't know why I keep saying category. I should be saying tier. It gets Mortal Spin, and if it gets something like Merciless, like Mortal Spin into like Merciless attacks are actually like kind of scary. If it doesn't get like Merciless and it just gets some other ability related to poisoning, I think it will vary greatly depending on what it does, right? But it does have Iron Defense Body Press. Its typing is unique enough where it can like maybe catch some teams off guard. And Mortal Spin's like an annoying tool for it to have access to. So into the balance teams, I could actually see it being kind of annoying, right? Mega Scrafty has to be like best of one cheese, I think. Unfortunately, like with Mega Scrafty, you need to give this thing like a really crazy ability to make it like good. But it's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of a nothing burger, unfortunately. Just doesn't really feel worth it. If you give it something else, like I think it's better in singles because you can build around the Mega and its strengths, but with that, it's kind of whatever. Mega Electros, I could see being like decent if they give it something like Electric Surge, right? If they give it something like Electric Surge, I could see it like being at least like viable. It's probably not going to be a Pokemon that you would see like go insane mode everywhere. But if it could set electric terrain, I feel like it could actually be like very good, right? But it will kind of heavily depend on the ability, kind of like Raichu. I think it has a better chance of being good than Raichu for what it's worth. I think I'll probably reorganize a little bit around that. But yeah, like generally speaking, I think that yeah, it's ability dependent, but it'll probably be better because it has a special attack. Okay, Chandelure, I feel like can either be one of the coolest Pokemon by far or like one of the lamest. Again, really high special attack stat, so it benefited quite a bit from its changes. It will absolutely depend on what ability it has, right? Depending on the ability, it will absolutely change like where it's placed. I would say I think with the stat distribution it got, it probably will end up being in like the C tier. I'm probably gonna bump up actually both Z forms here higher because I think they probably deserve that. But yeah, I think Chandelure could be really good. Especially with the stat increases it got a decent defense increase, but yeah, it will kind of depend. So Golurk is an interesting one. I don't know, like I feel like Golurk, I don't know, it's like not bad stats, but it's still a little underwhelming. I think it will be maybe a little bit better than best of one cheese. It'll probably be like a D tier niche where it can go for headlong. It's a ghost type, right? Or not headlong, but sorry, ground moves and ghost moves, right? In Trick Room, but it'll probably be very one-dimensional. Chestnut, with the... Okay, so there is one niche I could see with Chestnut happening that I think would be really... Okay, I thought it all disappeared for a second. I was maybe very upset. Where did Chestnut go? Here. Chestnut, if it goes for Belly Drum into Grassy Glide plus Drain Punch, could be really scary with Mega Stats. That was already a niche prior next to Rillaboom. And Mega just gives it even more attack, even more defenses. The problem is it actually have to sack its health to do that. That being said, though, I think it could be pretty scary in that as well, too. Like, if they give it something where it's, like, immune to Intimidate. I know I've said this a lot. That could be scary. Iron Defense Body Press. Like, it gives it some tools, right? So, Chestnut's not, like, jobless. I'd probably say, like, again, it's in the C tier. Like, I think the C category is very fair for, like, a bunch of megas where it's, like, they're not, like, incredible in stats, but they're, like, good. Or, like, they can be good. Mega Delphox to me is, like, it's either B or A. Probably B because we don't know the ability. I think if they give it Levitate, by the way, this thing significantly drops in terms of how good I think it is. But the fact it's, like, an expanding force spawn with fire-type coverage makes it better than Zam. It still has a decent speed tier where it outspeeds Megagar. And on top of that, too, Indeedee, right? To give it stronger expanding forces. So for that reason, I think that's like a fair place to put it. What we can do right now too is once we get a few more down and slightly reorganize. So next up is going to be Mega Greninja. It's actually a decent speed tier, like very good speed tier actually. So Mega Greninja hits 142, which is faster than Mega Delphox and faster than a lot of other Pokemon. It's not necessarily the fastest Pokemon ever, but it is also it's still slower than CSR, which is a little bit disappointing. But it's not bad. Like it got an okay buff to its stats, right? It's a very frail mon though, so it's kind of a glass cannon. But again, its ability could make it really good. I think it's kind of in the same range as these megas. Whereas I think the ones in C that are like down there is like, yeah, their stat distributions are crazy. I guess I could move Absol up here and like, no, they'll stay where they are. But basically, like, I feel like the thing is the difference between C and C plus for me is like their stats are already so good that like they can have a strong niche, and then like C is like, okay, if they get like either, well, at least for the new megas, if they get an ability that's like average, they're definitely belonging here. If they get an ability that's like really good, it bumps them up, right? I think that's like a fair place to put it for the range of the mons for sure, which is why it's so difficult, right? Because like sometimes it's like they're so close to each other, but the abilities are just confirmed to be a bit better. Mega Pyro is terrible. They need to give this thing, I'll put in Best of One Cheese because maybe it gets like a really good ability. This thing's awful. Meowstic will be Best of One Cheese for sure because let's say you don't know if it's Megaing or using Prankster. That's going to be really annoying and can definitely lose you a game. Mega Malamar, I just get Best of One Cheese vibes from this mon. Like, there's something that this thing is going to do that's just going to be, like, really big Best of One Cheese. If it's not, then, like, whatever. But, yeah. I'd probably put Barbaracle in, like, the D tier as well. It's, like, a Shell Smasher, so that automatically gives it something. If it's Intimidatable, it probably goes down to Best of One Cheese or, like, even lower. But, yeah. Mega Dragalge is interesting. I actually think Mega Dragalge has like pretty decent stat distribution. And also too, it can do a bunch of damage to balance teams because it has like Dragon Poison, which is actually decent coverage. And it's slow. So I think it probably serves as like a Trick Room attacker. I would probably put it in like the lower C tier, depending on like, you know, obviously like what you give it in terms of its ability. It could maybe go up or down. If it's adaptability, it probably will stay in C. I think like towards the bottom. But if you give it something that's like, you know, I guess terrible, then it might sink down a little bit more. Mega Hawlucha, again, so Staraptor and Mega Hawlucha directly compete with each other for different reasons. It really depends on the ability they both get, but I think Hawlucha is slightly beaten by Staraptor. If Flying Press or something gets buffed by the Mega, maybe it can like change around. But generally speaking, right, Staraptor might be better because it has Intimidate into Megaing, right? So Hawlucha probably goes down in terms of a niche like that. It is a little bit faster, though. Mega Zygarde we're going to ignore for now because this thing is its own thing. Mega Diancie we're going to ignore as well. Mega Crabominable, look, hot take. I think this thing is, like, going to be B+ here. If it gets an ability that allows it to not be intimidated, I think it'll be very scary on a hard Trick Room team, right? You have I guess for what it's worth, since that's only one archetype, I'll drop it down to, like, B. But I think it has the potential to actually be really scary. It's actually one of the best distributed mons recently. And if you give it a broken ability, it could be really scary, right? And it's slow, so it's going to be able to, you know, obviously do damage. Now, I will say it doesn't underspeed Amoonguss, which is definitely a huge drawback. So for that reason, it probably goes, like, in this general area. Yeah, we're going to slightly reorganize this in a second. Mega Golisopod. I kind of talked about it. I think it depends on its ability and what it does. Like some kind of reskin water bubble, or maybe like immune to Intimidate could make it better. If it's not immune to Intimidate, it's going to really struggle. Also, its quad weakness to fire types is kind of difficult to justify. But again, like that, it can maybe get saved by its ability for a niche. I could see it being really good into Calyrex Ice specifically. especially if it gets wide guard or they give it new moves. Because you just wall out Lance and high horsepower doesn't really do much and it's super defensive. Mega Drampa, I think it'll really depend on what Mega Drampa does. I know I say that, but like, I mean, looking at its stats, right? Its stats are pretty decent. But the problem is they added so many megas that are like technically like optimized Trick Room attackers, but like you don't like. Again, the thing is when there's so much competition like this, you're not really gonna have like a clear-cut winner. Like you'll notice like all the megas that have in the past been like really slow like damage dealers have always fallen into the niche of like, okay, like comparatively, right? Like Camerupt, right? Like the Trick Room niche, like that's so limited, right? Like it doesn't really actually get to do very much with that. So for that reason, it just automatically goes in D tier because like the only thing I could see this working on is like hard Trick Room. If it's Rain, like I would still rather have Pelipper or Politoed save my ability. If it's like a normal type attacker with Hyper Voice, like why wouldn't I just use Ursaluna, Blood Moon, right? Like you have to also consider like what the megas are competing against as well. I think that's like, do they do something unique enough where you're willing to use them over another option, right? We have Phalanx here. I just feel like, again, there's so much fighting competition. Like, even if this thing gets a really good ability, the max I see it capping out as like a D tier pick. Mono fighting is just not enough in a format like this. You really need some more diversity. Scovillain is like, best of one cheese is even generous. I guess if you don't know it's mega and you play around it like it's moody, you can, but it's just so bad. Like, I feel like they have to go in best of one cheese because, like, maybe they get some crazy ability. Mega Glamora, I actually think, I was thinking about it a little bit more. I think Glamora is a Pokemon that's already, like, decently strong. You give it a decent stat buff as well. Speed stat gets better. If they give it a good ability, it definitely is something I could see being really good. As I now, like, I get to this too, we're gonna almost at the reorganizing part. Baxcalibur, really good stats, will depend on what ability it gets, but I think that with its typing and its stats minimum, you probably put it in B tier just because it's so statted. And you have snow as a niche automatically, right? Because you can set like a snow for it. Tatsugiri, this one is like, I know I've been saying some are ability dependent. But yeah, I think if you get like some super commander, this thing will be great. If it gets anything else, this thing will never be used. So because I'm assuming it's going to be something like super commander, it has to be like CE, right? But yeah, I just feel like that's where it is. So let's reorganize a little bit. So Mega Gengar as number 1, Shadow Tag. Kangaskhan, Scrappy as a buff is super good for it. Heatran, amazing stats. Salamence, Intimidate into Aerialate. Metagross gets Heavy Slam, it's even better. Charizard sets Sun, it's still great. Excadrill got an amazing buff. Delphox can be really amazing unless it gets something like Levitate. To move some mons up, I think Scizor is reasonable to move up as well. Bullet Punch being able to knock out Flutter gives it a niche. Technician, Bug Bite going into Rillabooms, super good. As well, too, I think another Pokemon worth considering in the argument to move it up is going to be Mega Glamora. If Mega Glamora gets some kind of ability that makes it, really good, maybe even just infinite meteor beams, like whatever. Even if it's Toxic Debris still, I mean, Toxic Debris wouldn't be amazing, but something involving its poison, like it can be strong. Mega Dragonite probably gets B tier anyways, just because it's a really well statted mon. It has general stats and it gives it a unique niche, so it probably will see play. I think that's reasonable for this tier. Baxcalibur should probably be the top of B just because it has the most potential. Mega Lucario, Mega Chomp Z, both make sense there as well. Tyranitar, Mawile, just consistent. Crabominable, I'm going to maybe put down on C. Also C for Crabominable, but C plus is reasonable because if it doesn't get a good ability, I think it definitely lowers its viability. But if it's only good on hard Trick Room, that means I'll have a specific niche, kind of like these other Pokemon. Chandelure at number 1 makes sense. Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty happy with this list overall and my explanations for everything. But yeah, so I think this is pretty reasonable. It makes sense that you would see, like, it might look surprising that, like, the B plus category up to like A is so like condensed. I mean, even B actually and up is so condensed, but like that's kind of how it is with megas, right? Like you just have megas that are like good and they're so good that like metas become centralized around them, and then like megas that are like okay, right? And it kind of feels like, to be honest, what they're probably going to do, because there are so many megas now, they're going to release them in batches for formats. That'd probably be my interpretation at least. and maybe start by releasing only the ones included in Legends EA, and then maybe going from there as the formats expand, right? That's probably something that we will see. If not, then, I mean, and everything's allowed from the start. I feel like this list will be pretty indicative of what it will look like, at least in competitive, and the niches that they have. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a bit of a longer one, but I'll catch you guys soon. Talk to you later. Peace.